Evening, calling to order the meeting of the Pittsburgh Board of Commissioners for Monday, September 25th, 2023. And we begin our meetings with a moment of silence. Please join me. Thank you. Commissioner Farrell,
Certainly.
lead us in the pledge.
Everyone rise in the pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We have our agenda before us. I'll accept a motion to either approve the agenda as proposed or a motion to modify the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as set.
Motion by Commissioner Farrell,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Vose. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Under Citizens Matters, our town manager, Jonathan Franklin, has an update for us.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I had the privilege of having lunch Thursday at St. Bart's for their community lunch. Great program there. If you haven't been by there to get a bite to eat, you definitely should and check it out. Terry was telling me that 2022, they did 23,000 meals, and then they're trending this year to do 30,000. So that is a huge benefit for the community for what they're putting together. Had a nice walk in the woods with Lyle at the plant and our County Health Director, Mike, and hopefully start working on building a path from the plant to all the way to downtown. Hopefully in the next several months, start getting that process going. In terms of our 1,4 dioxane release from Burlington that we were notified of, we have received additional numbers from them. They are getting better, but we don't want to send that press release out until we get our own numbers, which hopefully will tomorrow. So tomorrow we will have an update as soon as we get it. Thank you.
Thank you. In the interim, since our last board meeting, Kyle and I opened the county fair together. This has become a really lovely tradition to, out with the old and in with the new or whatever one. And, I brought my basket last time and I wanted you to see, the okra and the green peppers were blue ribbon. My canned plums were not so good. But
Participation.
I mean, and this is the 73rd county fair. And I propose that we all dig up major portions of our lawns and put in gardens so that you too can enter and have this kind of documentation of how impressive your gardening skills are in the community. So, so that is, the weather was just terrible on Saturday. Ophelia did us no good whatsoever. But then on Sunday, Commissioner Bonitz, I think you were there until the sunset. Were you?
After. Yes, it was a lovely, lovely day.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we were all together here at the Triangle J. I'm sorry, I just can't call it by its new name. But the Triangle J Council of Governments led us in a strategic planning session on Thursday, the 21st. So, Kyle, you're going to be taking the ribbon duties for the school administration ribbon cutting on the 28th. And then I thought of what it is.
Okay.
And it's on Saturday, the 30th at 4:00. Don't know what your plans are, but I would love for you to cover the chili cook-off and be a judge for the chili cook-off.
I will check.
Okay. These are all really important things. And this has occupied my time for 6 years, so I'm delighted to hand those off to you. So, all right. So that's my comments and concerns. Mayor Pro-Tem Pamela Baldwin.
Thank you very much, Mayor Cindy Perry. I appreciate it. And I'd like to thank everyone which attended the fair, all of the sponsors. We certainly do appreciate it. The ones who brought the children, we appreciate that. And next year, we hope to see all of you all there with a lot of children and your things on the exhibit, just as the mayor had asked. I did place a plant on the exhibit, but I just got back from a trip for a conference for my job. So I hadn't had a chance to go to the fairground to see if I got a blue ribbon. Let's hope for a blue ribbon. So the next thing, I have an executive committee meeting for the Triangle J, which is the Central Pines Regional Council on Wednesday at 6:00 p.m. And I don't have anything additional. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Bonitz.
Yes, I have no additional updates.
All right.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Farrell.
Just one, the PBA met Wednesday last week and had a representative from the United Way, Miss Shelley Smith. She gave a very interesting, short, sweet presentation in regard to some of the issues the United Way is facing here in Chatham County. And I'll just give you a few of them. Of course, housing, as we know, poverty and lack of higher paying jobs. Of course, the United Way is doing the best they can. They need donations like everyone else. Thank you.
Commissioner Shipp.
Thank you, Mayor. So next year for the fair, I'll lead a walk from downtown to the fair on our extended greenway. On Saturday, I was able to go to the Friends of the Lower Hoff State Natural Area meeting. And got to learn that acronym, but it was really good. Brian Baker, who is the assistant county manager in Alamance, came to speak, and he started as a trails coordinator for Alamance County and spoke about the paddle trails and the trails along the Hot River that they want to accomplish in Alamance County. So really good insight from him. Something good to do in the rain that day. And then this week is Take a Child Outside Week. And our parks department is doing things every day in the parks to take your child outside. And at our last meeting for the EDC, it was September 20th, the Chatham County Partnership for Children came to talk to us. They talked about their focus is primarily daycare and childcare, and just the big deficit of childcare that we have and how that affects economic development and worker availability and things like that. So they are working on that, and we have a new one on the way soon, we believe, a new daycare. So that's all I have.
I did too.
No. Sorry.
On the record, you don't straighten that out. I did too.
Daycare.
Tuesday, the 12th, I attended a downtown advisory board meeting. On the 19th, an arts council meeting, and I was here on the 21st for the strategic planning boards or planning session. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Nobody has signed up for public comment. However, was there someone who wished to speak who failed to sign up with us? Is there anybody wishing to make a 3-minute public comment? Apparently not. So we'll move then to the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of 6 items this evening: minutes, budget amendments, and an ordinance establishing street closures for Pittsboro Street Fair, donation and acceptance and solicitation policy. Is there a motion to pass all the items of the consent agenda, or is there some motion to modify the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Shipp.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Vose. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Motion carries unanimously. So, the next matter on the agenda is a public hearing. Is there a motion by the board to go into public hearing for PB 23-310, the Oldham conditional zoning request?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Shipp, seconded by Commissioner Vose. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously. Randy Cahoon Tingle will be speaking to us about the general parameters here. And greetings, Randy.
Good evening. Please to be here. As you all are aware, we're reopening the public hearing regarding this particular item. And between 2 weeks ago and tonight, we did receive an updated ordinance, which is included in your packet. Also, the proposed conditions that are contained in Exhibit B are actually slightly different, not majorly different. And I'm going to yield the floor at this point.
Andy. Good evening, everyone. I'm Nick Robinson, 128 Hillsborough Street. Delighted to be here tonight again on behalf of Chatham Park investors. Just a quick update. When we held the public hearing a couple of weeks ago, the first part of the public hearing, the hearing was held open, as was mentioned. It was a procedural aspect having to do with the proposed ordinance to approve the rezoning. However, in the meantime, in between, there were also a few follow-up items about which we were asked to confer with our client, namely providing a traffic impact analysis, whether or not we'd be willing to do that in connection with this project later during the subdivision process. And also some more information was requested about greenways and the extent to which there would be connectivity within the Oldham project to the network of greenways. Pardon me. And in addition to those two items, each time that we've been before you with a rezoning that's related to properties that are adjacent to Chatham Park, I think the subject of the possibility of affordable housing being included has come up. And, you know, those conversations have followed a similar pattern. The affordable housing program in the UDO is voluntary and it's incentives based. And also, these rezonings have followed a pattern of taking land that is currently zoned to allow very low density and converting those into property that is allowed higher density, which translates itself, if not legally into affordable housing, at least into housing that's more affordable than could be on the site as currently zoned. With regard to those three items, then I just wanted the Chatham Park investors would propose to address those three items as follows. Regarding the TIA, I think you might have seen this in your packet, although a TIA is not required under the UDO. And although the applicant doesn't have any intent of using Rock Springs Church Road for primary access to or from the project, because they're going to be performing a traffic impact analysis for the portion of Chatham Park that's nearby, they have told us that it's okay to include a condition in this approval that would fold they'll just basically do the TIA at the same time as they're doing the TIA for the Chatham Park portion nearby. So we have proposed an additional condition, which you can see in your proposed approval ordinance as condition number 12, which reads very simply, a traffic impact analysis will be performed and submitted at the time of application for subdivision. And I think I can say that the planning director has indicated he's satisfied with that condition in the ordinance as proposed. Greenways and connectivity. Robbie Oldham's here tonight, and he can answer any detailed questions. But the summary on the greenways issue is that in accordance with the Pittsboro Greenway Master Plan and the revised small area plan for the North Village of Chatham Park, a greenway will be installed along Haven Creek riparian buffer, which is that southern creek that runs along the southern bottom half of the project area. And that greenway itself will be reachable by pedestrians because the Oldham project collector streets will have 10-foot multi-use trails for the pedestrian and bicycle connectivity. And all the roads, except for the alleyways that are in the subdivision, will have sidewalks on both sides for pedestrian connectivity. And that's established by the street cross sections that are attached to the approval ordinance. If you flip to the back, the last exhibit there shows you the street cross sections that shows you where the sidewalks and the multi-use trails are. So in summary, the pedestrians will have ready access through the neighborhood to the Haven Creek Greenway and a connection to the entire envisioned greater Greenway system that way. Last thing is regarding affordable housing. And the applicant has discerned through all of these conversations that this project presents an opportunity to get a little bit creative and to make a proposal. And as a result of some conversations with Mr. Shipp and Manager Franklin, Chatham Park Investors is willing to propose the following as a commitment to more affordable housing in Pittsboro as a part of this approval. And if I may, I'd like to just pass out a proposed 13th condition to address that. Don't know where to start. Here's 8 part. Okay, there we go. Thank you. There's 8 of them right there. And I'm coming to the end here, but I can preview that for you. So essentially, what we're proposing, the approval ordinance that you have in your packet has 12 conditions in it now. This would be number 13, just to tab on right to the end there. And condition number 13, which I'll read into the record, says Chatham Park Investors LLC or its affiliates will provide a number of affordable housing units and or workforce housing units on land within the boundaries of the Chatham Park North Village, on land within 1 mile of any boundary of the Chatham Park North Village, or on other land approved by the Pittsboro Board of Commissioners that is at least equal to 7.5% of the number of dwelling units constructed on the subject property, being on the Oldham property, rounding down for any partial unit. Pardon me. The terms and conditions on which such housing units are required to be provided shall be as set forth in the Chatham Park Affordable Housing Plan additional element, a copy of which is attached as Exhibit 3. So you'll see in your proposed approval ordinance, the last exhibit on there is Exhibit 2. This exhibit would just fit behind there as Exhibit number 3 and would relate to condition number 13. So last bit of information that I'd like to point out. There's been no public opposition to the approval, either at the planning board meeting or the last Board of Commissioners meeting. I think it's fair to say that the staff is in agreement that this proposed rezoning meets the requirements and should be approved. And with that last condition, hopefully the board finds itself feeling as though this would be a good project to approve with conditions as presented. And we're available for any questions or additional comments as you see fit.
We do speak signed up for the public hearing tonight. And so I think we'll hear from that now. If you'll come to the podium, please.
Jamie Saunders or Jamie Saunders Hoffman. Both names are legit.
Can you speak up a bit?
It's the best I'm doing. I'm partially deaf. I am doing what I can do. I live at 126 Bynum Road, which is very near the corner of Bynum and Hearn Road. And I'm part of that neighborhood that is the Hearn Road neighborhood. And we are a neighborhood of little homes and larger homes, a real eclectic mix. And we were very happy to hear that Chatham Park does not want to connect on Hearn Road or Bynum Beach Road. But I would like to ask that there could also be wording that you do not allow logging trucks or heavy haulers through our neighborhood. I have had previous experience with large developments, namely Preston, who came through our neighborhood and Cary over and over again with big logging trucks and big construction equipment, tore up the roads, and we had little children on bikes. Now we have walkers and bicyclers and dog walkers, and we are the road to the bridge. And we would very much not want to see logging trucks coming down our road. It really would be a disaster. And another point is there's down there by the bridge, which is now 100 years old, underneath there is a large infrastructure that was built when the bridge was built. It's 100 years old. It's 4, 5, 6 feet tall under there. You can walk under there. And the kids do. They think it's fun. It won't hold anything. It's old. And so we're just asking, please, in the wording, no big trucks. Unless it's really important, like a fire truck. That's what I'm asking, if that's okay.
Thank you, Ms. Saunders. Nick Robinson, does your client have a plan for construction traffic in this area?
I could not hear the roadway that she was mentioning, I'm sorry to say.
She said that she lives in a neighborhood that's adjacent to Hearn Road and Bynum Beach Road, and that she would ask that large-scale construction and logging trucks not be permitted to come through their neighborhood, that they have a very sweet neighborhood which has lots of people out on the pedestrian areas and dog walkers, et cetera, and that she hopes that she might be able to expect that from Chatham Park.
Yeah, I've been down through that neighborhood and on that road. I know what she's talking about. It's a very nice area. And I would say that there's absolutely no intent at this point for there to be any construction traffic for this project, that road on Hearn Road. Right, yeah. I think it would be coming up through the southern, but Robbie could probably speak to this better than I could, but yeah, it would be coming up through the southern part where the Chatham Parkway is being constructed in that area. Yeah.
Ms. Saunders.
She's correct that we have said that we will not connect to her unless the county requires it. That's one of the conditions in the proposed approval.
Ms. Saunders, he's saying that there will be no connection through Bynum Beach or Hearn Roads, but that they will come through on the Chatham Parkway roadway. And they agree that that is a protection that you can rely on.
And we have some way to protect it against subcontractors who just feel like taking shortcuts. That was our problem before. Subcontractors say, hey, here's Bynum Beach Road, let's just cut through. We need to make sure they can.
Well, we'll certainly hope that Chatham Park and the contractors will make sure that that is done. And if not, take some pictures of their license plates, and we'll report that through. Okay, thank you. All right. You've heard the discussion, the addition of conditional use zoning, affordable housing condition number 13. Do we need to hear further from our planning director, Randy?
No.
Okay. Are we ready for a motion?
Oh, no.
Are we ready for discussion?
Yes, please. Love to hear other people's thoughts on this.
Discussion by the board.
I appreciate the changes they made according to what you asked about. So any other questions or discussion?
Yeah. So as I read this doesn't obligate them in any way to do any affordable housing in this particular rezoning. And that's kind of the point. That's what the Additional Elements Review Committee emphasized, is that affordable housing, not only do we need it, but we need it scattered throughout our neighborhoods. We need diversity of housing types, and we need these diversity of housing types among one another, so as not to become segregated economically. Also, I just have to be honest with you, friends and the public, that my heart absolutely sank when I read the reference to the Chatham Park Affordable Housing additional element, because I view that document as one that, well, in the words of the policy analyst from the county who helped us to understand it and its potential impacts, unlikely to do anything more than market rate. And market rate apartments are going to get built. We don't have to have a lot of fancy language and people promising to build quote unquote affordable housing. I think we need earnest language and earnest promises, and I don't see in any way how this is going to increase opportunities for lower income people in our community. I'm skeptical that it's going to increase opportunities for people of modest and middle incomes. So that's not worth very much to me. I appreciate that the condition was offered for the traffic impact analysis to be done during the subdivision process. Thank you. I think it is very clear that those will be a great concern to neighboring property owners and people along Rock Springs Church Road. This is a picayune complaint, and yet it's one that makes the document unfunctional for me, and that is that the page upon which the conditions are found was evidently scanned. It's not a text document. Not machine readable. The public doesn't have the opportunity to search that text. Someone who's sight impaired can't make sense of that document. It's not keyword searchable. Commissioner Shipp, that's why I didn't know that there were units stipulated in this document. Any number of units. I was looking and looking, couldn't find where the number of residential units appeared. Commissioner Vose, this came up in conversation when we spoke about it.
I'm concerned about that, I guess, because it's one of the 12 conditions that were suggested. So I agree with your points about searchable documents, but it is readable in the conditions. And so I think that's an important part of the document to review.
If it comes up in my keyword search, it's readable.
Okay.
So the other thing about this is that it just feels rushed. It doesn't feel like it's really had proper scrutiny. I'm surprised that the planning board didn't have any questions or concerns about it. I look at a roughly analogous zoning that was pulled together by our former staffer, Janie. And that was for the Robertson Creek, the Robertson's Walk. Why is it that that set of conditions included the requirement that an HOA shall be established? The conditions for that project required that the greenway reach a certain point of completion before the certificates of occupancy for certain areas and the rezoning would be issued. That makes sense. If we're serious about people being able to walk or bike to work, then those greenways are just as important as the roads. Yeah.
Will this be gated? I'm unclear on that. This is proposed to be a gated community? Thank you.
So I do have a question. Do you want to put in a condition, something regarding greenways? Is that what you wanted as an additional condition?
No, this is the kind of the point. It's a great example, Commissioner Baldwin, that, you know, I'm merely noticing the absence as I compare this to another project that was well vetted by staff, was scrutinized, had lots of time put into it. And I'm wondering why it's not there. And I would suggest that we not try and make those kinds of edits because we're likely to muck something up, not staff. I would like to send this back to staff and have it get proper review and proper input from our planning staff, because this does not look like, to me, a rezoning suitable for planning, a well-planned community.
Mr. Cohen Tingle, can you respond?
If it is the will of the board that this go back for a second swipe, I don't have any problem with going back for a more thorough swipe. This particular project was presented to me as largely finished, but I would be happy to go back over it and certainly insert some text.
I mean, I'll say that I do trust the review that staff has done, and this board, the planning board reviewed it. This board reviewed it last meeting. You had questions that came back with responses to those questions. I think that's how we typically operate. And without any other specific suggestions, I don't know what else we're asking staff to do other than saying that you don't trust what they've already done.
Well, this is a new document. This is a new provision. And my sense is that this has come as a result of, that your questions come as a result of this new section 13.
Certainly. Yep.
So, Mayor, I might suggest, and I understand it's not the only question that Commissioner Bonitz has, but related to the greenway specifically, it may be prudent for the applicant to talk about how the greenway requirements for the master plan would impact this proposal.
Thank you, Kent. That's a marvelous suggestion.
Oh, no way, she gets them handed out. Okay. Robbie Odom, Weathers Revenue, on behalf of CPI and the applicant. So I've just got two exhibits. I know the question came up. I was not able to attend the last meeting. I did listen, watch the videos. I know the questions came up with Mr. Bonitz and maybe some others on the Greenway, but I think, you know me, I want to show graphics. I want to see the kind of the bigger picture and what the Greenway, and this is not ours. This first map that you see is the town's master Greenway plan and parks. So I know it's hard to see, but what I've done is you see the red cloud at the top. This is the first exhibit.
showing the Haven Creek Greenway. Again, this is your Parks Master Plan and Greenway Master Plan that was approved. It's been a few years ago. So then the second sheet, I just try to zoom into that kind of red cloud area. And really all we did, this is the illustrative that we shared, presented at the last meeting. So it shows a conceptual illustrative. Again, it's just an illustrative. This thing's probably 3 or 4 years old, but it helps to see greenways, roads, networks. I mean, that's what, staff. And then what all I've done is taken that illustrative and overlaid the proposed greenways in the dark green lines, as you can see here. So it shows it connecting to Mosaic, coming across. I've got it dashed, across properties that are not controlled by within this project or within Chatham Park. Connecting back through the Oldham, you see on the southern Oldham track that is connecting through there. And then into Chatham Park, into the North Village, which was just approved, the revision, it's always been there. That it's consistent with the town's land or master greenway plan, and how that connects all the way out to the Hall River Trail. So, this is going to connect Mosaic, Hospice, Grant Drive. You can see it's coming down to Grant Drive and to the residential developments. And then this just shows the greenways. I know Mr. Bonitz had a question about the complete streets and connectivity. So this doesn't show the multi-use trails that we're committed to there's Grant Drive. There will be multi-use trails on Chatham Parkway on both sides. There will be a 10-foot multi-use trail along this residential collector road that's coming through Chatham Park into the track. Plus, all of these streets on there, as I think Mr. Robinson presented earlier, will have 5-foot sidewalks on both sides. So there will be connectivity with all of this, and not just sidewalks, but also with the multi-use trails that you don't see. And then, so we're committed to the Haven Creek Greenway. I mean, this is something that we personally, I don't want to speak for staff, but you get into the details of this at a site subdivision plan, not a rezoning. I mean, so there's commitment already with the town's master plan. So we've got that. And then you're talking about completion of greenways and all that. Well, the staff will do that. Once we have a approved site subdivision plan and go to construction, there's going to be requirements in there that staff enforces based on UDO and based on site and subdivision plan approvals. So all that will take place. It'll probably be a couple of years before we even can near design and looking at this, but all that is built into the process that the town already has with town staff. I don't think there's anything else I left out, but and then if there are any questions on this, I know what I was going to say. There are also big private greenways in here, but again, that's when you get into the details of this. We don't have topo here. I mean, we've got some survey, but there's a lot of design that goes in. We work hand in hand with staff to go through that process. I mean, we have pre-submittal meetings and then sit down and go through 2 or 3, sometimes 4 and 5 reviews on these things. And that's all staff is making those calls, and we're working with them at that level, at a site subdivision plan level.
Thank you, Mr. Oldham. And yes, there was a lot of work done with that former staffer. I acknowledge, but just as I look at it, I just am comparing her prior work on another project, which it's not exactly apples and oranges. There's some analogies there. And there's a significant number of conditions that appeared in that other document that don't appear in this one. The other thing that I do want to say is that, thank you, it's great. And as I look at this drawing, and as I think about this, look, it looks almost like a little dachshund dog. Isn't that cute? Little dachshund dog up in the northwest corner. Let's call that the dachshund dog. If I lived up in that corner, in order to get access to the greenways, I'll have to go all the way south, almost all the way to Chatham Parkway to access that. And it just feels like it's just begging for that level of pedestrian connectivity. You already have made your organization, as Chatham Park investors have already made the pledge of standing off and buffering that creek. So why not utilize that greenway, that lovely preserved buffer space to connect to the Haw River Greenway, which is, I think, the name.
Yep.
It's just begging for it. As I look at it, I'm not a planner. As I think about connectivity, we want connectivity, as much connectivity as we have with streets and roads. And I think that's where we want to go. And I can only repeat myself so many times. So,
And I would only add, I think, what you don't see on here are the roads themselves. That's going to have sidewalks on both sides. And then, once you get in design of this, there may be trails down there. I don't know. And they may decide to put a private trail through there, but the other thing I would caution, we're talking about town public greenways here. So, these will be, maintained by the town of Pittsboro. So I think staff and your previous consultant, they take that into account when they're looking at this. And they're not trying to propose a public 10-foot public greenway trail on every stream in the town. So we're providing that connectivity with the sidewalks and you're looking at the big picture here and how this works. There's detail to come, but, and that will be done, with staff.
Previously, you did ask if staff had anything to add, and I did want to bring out a point that I thought was perhaps obvious, but perhaps not. The Planned Communities Act of 1989 requires an HOA for any development that exceeds 20 residential structures. The reason that I did not feel a burning need to look for or find in the conditions a need for an HOA is that my assumption was, with the applicant being Chatham Park investors, that a existing HOA would be utilized in managing this particular item. If for some reason the HOA that is formed for Chatham Park investors is not interested or capable of handling the HOA type business for this particular development, I'm certainly going to say it would be certainly incumbent on the people who are embarking on this to create such an HOA. So I honestly, until this moment, have not put anyone on the spot, although I feel quite inclined to. But it's my belief, unless Mr. Robinson wants to stand up and tell me a different story, that while I can see the value of encapsulating that particular piece within these conditions, and as we've added a 13th, there's nothing wrong with the 14th, to simply make it clear that there should be an HOA in charge of private portions of this in public, not public land, non-public land. But I'm going to say that was not exactly at the front of my list of things to look for. I will say after this conversation tonight, it will be. From today, forever, just that is literally burned into my mind.
I'm not fond of them, but I'm looking at the two historic documents and the current document. One of the distinctions.
I'm the president of the one where I live. I can certainly say it's got a dual edge.
If it's a requirement in state law, why would we make it a condition? And which other state laws do we make conditions? I guess we.
Not sure. Again, I just wanted to point out that I felt that that could be addressed by Chatham Park investors if that is their intention. I'm sorry.
That fell under my purview under the planning department. We wanted to ensure that there was clarity on who was going to maintain the sidewalks, that they would be private, so that we wanted to clarify that that would be under an HOA. So that's the reason why we had that specific language.
With the Robertson's.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you. I do remember your name associated as well.
That project started from scratch, so it was a different animal than working with Chatham Park over the years with the elements.
Yeah, but this is outside of the elements.
I'm sorry?
This is outside of the elements. This land is not a part of the PDD. As much as it may want to be.
That is correct. I would say with the Greenway, with it being such a larger project. We wanted to ensure that it would be installed at some point, but before the end of the project. That might not be the situation with this particular project.
That was before the UDO also, that project.
Good point.
It was very soon to, yes, sir. I'm pretty sure it was actually. So this predated the staff that was here currently. This was back in 2021. So I'm trying to remember all the details, but.
Thank you, Teresa.
Hi, if I can just chime in on that one point. So I think I heard correctly that the project that this is being compared to is a project that had private sidewalks, and they wanted to make sure that there was a homeowners association in place to maintain them. What we have here is very different from that. The sidewalks will be in the public right of way. They'll be handled in the exact same way all other public sidewalks are handled and maintained. And it's true that by state law, we will have to have a homeowners association. And so, of course, there will be one. Thanks.
Hopefully that cleared that up.
Questions, comments?
I'd like to move that we send this back to staff for further work, for fixing the typo on the Fordale housing condition and any other conditions that staff deems appropriate.
Do we need to close the public hearing before Mr. Bonitz's motion is acceptable under the Robert's Rules of Order?
Yes.
We do.
To close the hearing.
Yes. Mr. Bonitz has made a motion to close the public hearing, the continuation of the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Vose. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed. Now, it would be appropriate to have your motion on sending it back. Would you?
I move that we send the Oldham rezoning back to staff for more thorough work and additional conditions as staff deem appropriate.
You've heard the motion by Commissioner Bonitz. Is there a second? The motion dies for lack of a second. Is there another motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with the additional conditions that were added this evening.
Motion by Commissioner Shipp, seconded by
Second.
Commissioner Vose. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed.
Opposed.
Motion carries 4-1. Thank you.
Thank you.
Under old business, Teresa Thompson will be joining us with respect to the Code Ordinance Social District. Welcome, Teresa.
As a recap, the Downtown Advisory Board met in June. They gave a recommendation to approve the creation of a social district with the proposed hours of 11 to 11 Monday through Friday and 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Sundays. So this recommendation was presented to the town board for discussion on August 28th. And since that time, we became aware of concerns from a local organization regarding how these hours could overlap times when students are walking through downtown or to extracurricular activities. So I discussed this with the chair of the advisory board, and she requested that it go back to the board for additional discussion, which it did on September 12th. And the amended recommendation is for the hours to be from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Saturdays, and 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Sundays. I forward this recommendation to George Gregerholt with Chatham Drug Free. He replied that he felt these hours were reasonable, but that he would also forward it to his partners with the organization. I touched base with him again today, and he said he had not received any feedback that anyone had any issues with them. He agreed again that they were reasonable and thanked us for taking consideration of their concerns. I let him know that even if the social district is approved, if he ever has any issues, to always just give me a call because it can always be amended in the future as well. I also wanted to mention that the owner of Havoc contacted me after the advisory board meeting and requested that the board consider allowing when there's a holiday on a weekday, that we allow Saturday hours. I mentioned that to Mr. Gregor Holt as well, and he thought that was reasonable as students are not in school during holidays if it falls on a weekday. The other question I received, I think this was at the last meeting, was regarding special events. So I wanted to speak on that a little bit. So there's 3 parts to special events. In order to be able to sell or consume alcohol during a special event, you have to take into consideration the state law. That speaks to any alcohol vendor that's having a special event in a social district area has to receive applicable ABC permits. So that's the first requirement. The second is the local law, and that's 2 parts. So the first is we already have an ordinance in place that requires any special event to get permission from the town board to be able to consume or sell alcohol, such as the street fair was on the agenda tonight for that. So that doesn't have to change if the board doesn't want it to. So we can keep doing that, where any event would have to require that approval. And we do have the proposed language, which is the third part, that says that special events must meet our code of ordinances and that those requirements supersede what's in this article. So even though this article does allow for special events, if it allows for special events, to be able to sell alcohol, that is permitted, but it has to meet the code of ordinances to do so. So an event would have to request that approval from the town board first, based on our current law. So I hope that gives a little clarity on special events and addresses concerns on the proposed hours.
Thank you, Teresa. Are there questions for Teresa with respect to the action and the suggestions of the advisory board?
Yeah, there was additional feedback submitted, I think just today. Liz Cullington noted that it might be useful to, since we've kind of compressed the hours already, perhaps we should compress it just a tiny bit more to give deference to the dinner hour and the supper hour, not her language. But I'm wondering if we might agree to change the Monday through Friday hours to 6 to 9 p.m. instead of 4 to 9 p.m. So that folks who are inclined to eat between 4 and 6 might actually get some food in their belly before they risk intoxication. And then Saturday, instead of 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., change that to 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. Again, offering the lunch hour for people to have some food before they have some drink.
You've heard the suggestion. Is there comment or discussion?
Yeah, I think there was some misunderstanding in those comments from Ms. Cullington about the purpose of the social district. So in my mind, the social district is not for people who are drinking to become intoxicated. That's illegal anyway, to be intoxicated in public, but it is for the retail businesses downtown, those things. So it's not as much about the alcohol establishments. Obviously, they're selling drinks, but it's the art gallery and the other businesses that the hope is that it will drive business to them by being able to have people in there during their business hours. Shifting that later, and I know that she said have it available later in the evening as well. That to me is more focused on the social district for drinking versus the social district for the benefit of the downtown area, which is what my intention for the social district is. And I don't think that, hours aren't going to change people's intentions about drinking or, how they prepare or whatever that, but it's not, to me, the purpose is not to create a Bourbon Street, where it's just, but it's the ability to get a beverage from the brewery and go look at the art gallery or go look at some of the vintage shops and things like that, particularly while they're open.
Further discussion?
Those are helpful thoughts. Thank you.
I'm still not in favor of it, but I will say that if I were in favor of it, I would be in favor of later hours, just as was indicated. And it goes back again to the children. A lot of children they're still around at 4 p.m. They're still on the street. So, but I'm still not in favor. But thank you for that.
I appreciate you reaching out to Chatham Drug Free and responding to their feedback and then getting their, I guess kind of tacit approval on the revised hours as well. I think it's important to work with groups like that in the community as we go into this.
Yeah, I agree that it was important to contact Dr. Gregerholt. I must say that I have received a number of phone calls and emails and messages from members of the community opposed to this. And of course, I am not a voting member of this board. And I just simply mention that the constituents are very concerned about how this is going to work, and remind me again about a review of this will occur at what point?
So if it is approved, our next steps would be with business owners, those that would be opting into the program, and even the ones that decide to opt out, and have discussions on what the requirements are, what they would have to do to be involved, signage wise. I would also, like to say that based on my original presentation, that I think over 60 communities in North Carolina have adopted social districts at this time, and based on all the information that we have gathered, the concerns that were addressed by the community and board members and a lot of people, that they did not come to fruition, that there has not been those issues. And that always, it can be undone in the future. It can be amended. Social districts can be as well. So, but we've had social districts in North Carolina for well over a year now, in many communities. And those issues have not really come to reality as a lot of people were afraid they might.
Is there a mandate for review at any point along the way?
To keep track if there's any issue, we can do that. Yes, ma'am. Of course. We can keep track if there's any increased phone calls, if there, increased disturbances, anything like that.
Yeah, Shorty and I have already had conversations about monitoring this via police calls, probably 6 months and then at a year.
Okay. Yeah, that's very reassuring. And Teresa, your language looking at other municipalities was also reassuring. And I appreciate you doing that extra work.
Thank you.
It, as Mayor Perry said, it is kind of hard with merely a vote yes or no to feel responsive to the concerns of those like fellow Commissioner Baldwin who feel we just shouldn't do this at all. And so that's why I had proposed a shortening of the hours, but yeah.
I think if we're going to implement it, which I'm in favor of, that we do include the retail hours, that it's important because, French Connection, for example, asked to be included because of that reason. And so if we're going to, try this and see if it works, we need to have it during some of the hours that, the business are open. So I think this is a good compromise between the community comments and the retail preference for this too. And I think Teresa said that all of the businesses downtown were in favor of it, even though some would not choose to participate, but they were still in favor from the poll that they did.
In my limited experience with Newton, you would see groups of folks that were shopping that would take advantage of a social district beverage. And during events, rather than go to a kind of a beer tent or whatever, they would just go into one of the small businesses, purchase a beverage, and then walk around the event. So that was really the only two instances I saw, and saw I would say actually zero problems from that. Again, that was just for 1 year.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bonitz, did you wish to make the revision of the hours into a motion?
I'll ask the board if there's any appetite for it. Beyond your own verbal support.
I mean, I would prefer not to, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I find the argument compelling that this is really about the commerce and allowing people to enjoy a modest drink while shopping hadn't even occurred to me. I was frankly thinking of it as a window shopping opportunity, but now I understand the importance of having that overlapping business hours.
And hopefully extended business hours as we.
Up to the businesses. Yeah.
All right, well, is there a motion?
May I just add to this, I go along with Commissioner Ball, I'm still a little concerned about this. I read this several times and I'll just read it again. It says, if allowed on Sundays, it would give another reason to come to downtown Pittsburgh on Sunday. I hope we don't make that our mission statement, but also the boys, I think Pittsburgh, I think we're very limited in the people to be open on Sunday. I was downtown yesterday on Sunday. Very little action downtown. City town. Rocking and rolling, but that was about it. I mean, I just can't see at this time we're doing anything to help the vitality of Pittsburgh on Sunday. Because the numerous retailers that I've talked to said that they would not be open on Sunday, no matter which way we went.
I think the hope is with the growth.
Man.
I think the hope is with the growth and the increased foot traffic that could be a catalyst to having new businesses open downtown and have extended hours in the future.
Is there a motion?
I guess, Jay to ask, would you support other than Sunday? You still on it?
At this time, I'm not in favor of it. I'm sorry. I appreciate all his work, but at this time, I'm just not in favor of it right now.
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance with the hours noted, with the addition of the Saturday hours for holidays if they occur.
Motion by Commissioner Shipp,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Rose. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Thank you. It passes 3-2. And thank you very much, Teresa Johnson.
Thank you so much.
Under new business, Randy Cahoon Tingle, our planning director, is going to lead us in a discussion about the appointment of an in-town alternate and an ETJ alternate for the planning board. I have before me a statute, which seems very confusing to me, but nonetheless, would you like to speak to the statutory methodology for this board appointing two members, an in-town alternate and an ETJ alternate to the planning board?
Would you like to tell me a little bit about the particular reference? I'm slightly confused.
Well, apparently the procedure for making appointments, our board shall use the following procedure to make appointments. The mayor shall open the floor for nominations whereby the name of possible appointees could be put forward by the members. And then the names are debated. When the debate ends, the mayor calls the roll, and each member may cast his or her own vote. Now, I do not remember ever in the 6 years that I've been in this position calling a roll for a vote.
Okay.
But I mean, we can certainly do that. The voting will continue. If there's more than one appointee to be selected, each member shall have as many votes in each balloting as there were slots to be filled. And votes from a majority of members voting shall be required for appointment. Okay.
Madam Mayor, that's not a statute. That's the rules of procedure that the board adopted many, many years ago.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
And like you said, been ignored
It certainly has.
in the book.
Okay. Well, then, let's hear from Randy Cahoon-Tingle, and then we'll proceed with the proposal of the procedure, since following it would be a bright new day here on.
Thank you so much.
Simple. You've only got one vacancy for each office. So, I mean, you may have multiple nominations, but it's really not very complicated. You just vote on one slot for the in-town and one slot for the ETJ.
Okay. My remembrance, though, was that this board asked to see all of the applications come forward. And you're going to speak.
Which are in the packet, yes, ma'am.
You're going to speak to that because they were in our package.
Yes, ma'am, they are.
Okay.
There's at least one error in it. I did want to draw your attention to the fact that
Nicholas Drew Average indicated that he was in the ETJ. He is at 120 Mosaic Boulevard, Unit 311. Some say that's in town. Yeah. We also have. Let's see. Sorry, Mark. We have two ETJ behind that. One is Matthew Thomas Hayes, and that's 926 NC Highway 87 North. We have Linda C. Batley, one of the very first applications we received. She is at 200 Old Summer City Road. Tom Deffron is at 2425 Harrison Cook Road. And then inside of town limits, we have James D. Baldwin, again, Mosaic. Well, if you live there, serving on the planning board is important. We have Corey Forrest, 37 Carleaf Court, also inside of town. Terry Lynn Herndon is ETJ. And then Christina Yard. That's 48 Avondale Lane, and that's inside of town. So it's kind of an even mix. Planning board did review all of these applications except for one, and in a method that remains a mystery, as they did not share any of the rationale, they did come up with two potentials. I am certainly open to working with anyone at this point. We do need alternates, as our last meeting was canceled due to a lack of quorum, and this would resolve that issue.
Oh, okay. All right.
Probably should have let out with that one, shouldn't I? I'll do that right off the bat. Yes, ma'am. I'm trying to prevent that from ever happening again.
Okay. I guess when I read that it had been canceled, I knew deep in my heart that it was not, wasn't planning business.
Good gracious, no, of course not. Are you kidding me?
So here's a question. There came forward from the planning board themselves, Linda Batley, the name of Linda Batley for the ETJ alternate. And remind me of the gentleman for
Corey Forrest.
Corey Forrest for the in-town.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, we did ask for all of the applications. Does this board wish to review all of the applicants, or wish to vote on the applications that came forward from the plan?
Have a nominee from the members, a nominee for the in-town alternate, vote, discuss and vote, and have a need from the board or nominees from the board for the ETJ alternate.
Okay,
Discuss and vote.
we shall now do that. The floor will open then for nominations for the in-town alternate to the Town of Pittsburgh Planning Board.
I'll nominate Linda Batley for the ETJ alternate.
I thought we were doing in town.
I thought we were doing in-town too.
You can do whichever way.
That's fine.
I've made a motion.
Mr. Bonitz's motion is the name of Linda Batley has been placed forward. Is there a second?
Second.
Nomination?
I second that.
Okay. Seconded by Mayor Pro-Tem Baldwin. Those in favor, are there further nominations?
I'd like to nominate Terry Herman for the TJ.
Motion by Commissioner Farrell
Matt Hayes.
for Terry Herndon. Is there a second for Terry Herndon?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Shipp. And I'm sorry, Mr. Vose. Matthew Hughes Hayes
ETJ?
is nominated for the ETJ alternate.
I'll second that.
And that nomination is seconded by Commissioner Shipp. We have Matthew Hughes, Terry Herndon, and Linda Batley nominated. Are there further nominations? If not, is there a motion to close the nominations?
So moved.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Baldwin, seconded by
Second.
Commissioner Vose. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye to close the nominations.
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. The nominations are closed. With respect to votes for Linda Batley, could I have a showing of hands by the board? 2 votes for Linda Batley. May I see a showing of hands for Terry Herndon?
Mayor, you might want to read into the record who voted for.
Thank you. Commissioner Bonitz and Mayor Pro Tem Baldwin voting for Linda Batley. As to the nomination of Terry Herndon, raise hands. Commissioner Farrell. And for Matthew Hughes, Commissioners Vose and Shipp voting. So we have now eliminated Terry Herndon, and we'll have a runoff between Linda Batley and Matthew Hughes. Those persons wishing to have Linda Batley take the ETJ alternate, please raise your hands. 2, the very same Baldwin and Bonitz. Those persons wishing to have Matthew Hughes, please raise your hands.
Hayes.
Hayes. Matthew Hughes is nominated by.
I guess I can't vote twice. I thought I would throw my support in because it's obvious that he's going to.
So 3 persons voted for Matthew Hayes. And Matthew Hayes will be the ETJ alternate representative. Now, with respect to the in-town, I'll open the floor for nominations for the in-town alternate.
I'll nominate Corey Forrest.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Shipp, seconded by Commissioner Farrell. Are there further nominations?
Nominate Jay Walden.
Is there a second to Mr. Commissioner Vose's nomination of Jay Walden.
No second.
Seconded by Commissioner Farrell. Are there further nominations?
I nominate Christina Yard.
Christina Piard. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Vose. Are there further nominations or is there a motion the nominations be closed?
Motion nominations be closed.
Thank you. Mayor Pro-Tem
Second.
made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Vose. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Close the motion, close the nominations. We'll now take votes then on the in-town alternate representative. Votes for Corey Forrest, please raise your hand. Commissioner Shipp and Commissioner Farrell. Votes for Jay Walden. Commissioner Vose. 1. Votes for Christina Picard. 2. We will now eliminate Jay Walden and have votes between Corey Forrest and Christina Picard. Those in favor of Corey Forrest, please raise your hand.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Say that again. We're voting for.
We're voting for Corey Forrest
I'm sorry.
or Christina
I
Picard.
apologize.
Mhm.
Piard. No C, Piard.
Piard. Well, I was, thinking deep space,
Yes.
So, okay, 1, 2, 3. 3 for Corey Forrest and votes for Christina. 2. Corey Forrest has 3 votes to Christina's 2, and therefore Corey Forrest is the in-town alternate elected by this board.
I appreciate it. And I look forward to working with you.
Excellent. Thank you. We have no matters just for discussion only, and there is no closed session. Is that correct? I thought we were having a closed session.
Yes, we are.
We are having a closed session. My agenda says none, but I thought I remember receiving that. Yes.
For attorney-client privilege.
Oh, that's right. Yes. So is there a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the North Carolina General Statute 148-318? A, B, C. It's attorney-client privilege.
So moved.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Shipp, seconded by Commissioner Vose to go into closed session pursuant to attorney-client privilege. That would be NC Gen Stat 143-31811A3 to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged. Isn't that lovely?
I'll modify my motion to that.
To incorporate the 143-31811A3. Excellent. Thank you. Have we done it?
No, we didn't.
We had a motion and a second. And we need to vote.
Yes, we need to vote.
Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Unanimous vote.
Completely.
Is there any further business to come before the board? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Baldwin, seconded by Commissioner Bonitz. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Good night, everybody.
Good night.